The understanding that addiction was an illness, not a moral failing, had been Sarah's anchor. But even with that foundational truth, the path of remission was not a straight line, nor was it free from new forms of grief. The grief of growth. As Sarah healed, she began to see the world and herself with clearer eyes. This clarity brought a new, unexpected wave of grief, the grief of growth. She grieved for the years she'd spent in a haze, numb to the beauty and pain of everyday life. She grieved for the potential unfulfilled, the dreams deferred. This wasn't the sharp, agonizing grief of active addiction, but a quieter, more profound sorrow for the could-haves and should-haves that whispered in the quiet moments. It was the bittersweet ache of realizing how much life she had missed, even as she was finally living it fully. She started a new job, a small step, but a monumental one for her. The daily structure, the responsibility, the simple act of showing up and being present felt like flexing a muscle that had atrophied. There were days of immense pride, followed by moments of intense self-doubt, where the old whispers of worthlessness would try to creep back in. But now she had tools, therapy, her support group, and the unwavering belief that this was a manageable illness. The persistent allergic alarm. The physical allergic reaction to any thought of diversion remained a startling constant. It wasn't just a mental aversion, it was a complete physiological shutdown. If a difficult day at work or a memory of past trauma triggered even the fleeting thought of escape, her body would react immediately. Her muscles would tense, a cold sweat would break out, and a wave of nausea would wash over her, sometimes so intense she'd have to sit down. It was as if her entire system had developed a highly sensitive alarm, screaming, "Danger, illness, retreat." This reaction, while unpleasant, became her most potent guardrail. It was a stark, undeniable reminder that for her, any return to old habits was not a slip, but a catastrophic biological event. It reinforced the notion that her addiction was deeply embedded in her physiology, not just her willpower. Advocating for understanding. With time, Sarah found her voice. She started sharing her story, first within her support group, then cautiously with trusted friends, and eventually in small community forums. She spoke about the profound liberation of understanding addiction as an illness. She spoke about the grief of loss, the grief of missed opportunities, and the subtle grief of growing into a new self. And she spoke about the visceral, almost violent, allergic reaction her body now had to any thought of drug use, illustrating just how deeply rooted her illness was. "It's not about being weak," she'd say. "It's about having a brain that reacts differently." The years that followed were not without their trials, but Sarah faced them with a resilience forged in the fires of recovery. Her allergic reaction to any potential relapse remained a vigilant internal guardian. It was a stark, undeniable physical manifestation that reaffirmed Dr. Evans's words. Addiction was an illness, not a moral failing. The evolution of grief. As Sarah solidified her sobriety, her experience of grief evolved once more. The acute pain of loss gradually softened, transforming into a tender ache, a quiet understanding of the shadows that had once consumed her. She no longer felt the sharp pang of regret for every missed opportunity, but rather a profound appreciation for the present. This was the grief of acceptance, acknowledging the past without letting it define her future. She reconciled fully with her mother, their bond rebuilt on a foundation of empathy and open communication. Her sister, too, slowly started to mend bridges, witnessing Sarah's consistent commitment to her recovery and recognizing the profound shift in her well-being. These restored relationships were triumphs, hard-won battles against the isolation addiction had imposed. A new purpose, advocacy. Sarah's personal journey fueled a passionate desire to help others. She became a peer support specialist, working with individuals struggling with addiction, often in the very clinics where she herself had sought help. She shared her story openly, emphasizing the scientific basis of addiction, the brain changes, the genetic predispositions, and her own visceral allergic reaction to diversion. Explaining, when I tell people my body physically revolts at the thought of using, she'd explain, you see the light dawn in their eyes, Nisivquest breaking the recognize in the part. It helps them separate their illness from their identity. Emphatic, it's not them failing, it's their brain, their body, reacting to a disease. She spoke about the necessity of treating addiction with the same seriousness as diabetes or heart disease, advocating for comprehensive, accessible health care that prioritized long-term recovery over punishment. Living with remission. Sarah understood that remission was a lifelong commitment, not a destination. There were still challenging days, moments when stress or old triggers made her internal alarm system flicker. But now she had a robust toolkit, mindfulness practices, a strong support network, and an unshakable belief in her own capacity for healing. She found joy in simple things, a morning walk in the park, a shared meal with friends, the quiet satisfaction of helping someone else navigate their own path to recovery. Her life was no longer about escaping pain, but about embracing the fullness of human experience, the good, the bad, and everything in between. This has been a Sharri Plaza presentation.